Ever get that little knot in your stomach when you read about another huge cyber attack? Or maybe just feel lost trying to figure out how to keep your own stuff safe online. It's so easy to feel like you're just, drowning in threats. And this endless list of things you're supposed to be doing, it can be really overwhelming. Well, today we're going to try and cut through some of that noise. We're doing a deep dive into practical cybersecurity, specifically looking at the Center for Internet Security Controls, the CIS Controls, and this really smart idea within them called implementation groups, or IGs. Our mission today, to take that feeling of being swamped by info and turn it into something clear, something you can actually use. We want to show you how organizations, big and small, can figure out what cybersecurity defenses they really need based on their own situation, their resources. But before we get into the weeds on that, a quick reminder that this deep dive is based on material from Farhat lectures. All the content, the examples, explanations, it's all derived from the comprehensive accounting resources over at farhatlectures.com. So whether you're studying accounting, prepping for the CPA exam, or you're already a professional, definitely visit the website. They've got extra practice questions, video lectures, loads of support to help reinforce what we talk about today. And a special thanks to Professor Farhat for providing this valuable material. Okay, so let's unpack this. The CIS controls, basically a list, right? 18 specific things to do to boost cybersecurity. It sounds pretty standard.
Well, yeah, it's a list, but it's a very prioritized list.
Yeah.
Globally recognized, too. It's a benchmark.
Okay, but 18 controls. That still sounds like a pretty heavy lift for any company, especially maybe smaller ones or ones just starting out.
Absolutely.
How do they even decide where to begin? Is there like a roadmap within the roadmap?
That is exactly where implementation groups, the IGs, come in. They're super valuable for that reason. Think of IGs as a way to organize things, a kind of tiered system, maybe. It helps organizations figure out how to tackle those 18 controls effectively.
So it's not about knowing all 18 off the top of your head right away?
Not necessarily, no. It's more about understanding the framework first, how they group together based on, well, need and capability. Because IGs exist precisely because every organization is different, right? What works for, I don't know, a local coffee shop is going to be worlds apart from what a major bank needs.
Makes sense.
So these groups, they're based on an organization's unique profile. Things like their biggest security worries, their specific risk profile, which might depend on the kind of data they handle or their industry. Also, their current level of, let's call it cybersecurity maturity. How sophisticated are they already? And how ready is their program to take on more?
Okay.
But really, it boils down to company size, what resources they actually have, money, people, expertise, and what their main security priorities are. Some companies might have really critical, maybe even regulatory needs for top-tier security. Others are maybe more focused on just blocking the common everyday stuff.
Right. So it's kind of like building a house. You wouldn't put maximum security laser grids and a moat around a garden shed, would you?
Exactly.
But you also wouldn't just use a simple padlock on a bank vault.
Perfect analogy. No, you wouldn't.
The defense has to fit what you're protecting and what you can realistically, manage and afford.
Absolutely. You nailed it. Because it highlights that security isn't about just throwing everything at the wall. It's about smart, proportionate investment. And here's the thing. Sure, every organization wishes they could just implement everything, right?
Yeah.
Achieve Fort Knox level security.
Of course.
But reality kicks in. Resources, money, skilled people, and frankly, how sensitive the data actually is.
Yeah.
That dictates what's practical, what's necessary. So the IGs, they give you recommended guidance. They help prioritize where should you put your effort, your budget, to get the biggest impact for your specific situation.
So you're not overspending or worse?
Or worse, yeah, underinvesting in areas that are actually critical for you. It keeps things aligned.
Okay, that leads nicely into this term I saw mentioned, cybersecurity hygiene. I like that. It sounds proactive, routine.
It is. It's a great term.
Like brushing your teeth, but for your digital assets. So how does this fit in? Can you tell your hygiene level by your IG? Are you IG1, IG2, or IG3?
That's a really good way to think about it, yeah. Hygiene implies those regular, maybe small efforts that prevent bigger problems later. Diligence. And yes, there are 3 distinct implementation groups, IG1, IG2, and IG3, and crucially, they build on each other.
Okay, so they stacked up.
Exactly. If you're aiming for IG2, you've got to have all of IG1 covered first. If you're aiming for IG3, you need IG1 and IG2 solid.
Got it. So let's dive into IG1 then, the foundation.
Precisely. IG1 is that foundational set of cyber defense safeguards. These are the things that every single enterprise, doesn't matter the size or industry, really should be doing. It's the baseline.
The absolute must-dos.
The must-dos, yes. The essential protection against the most common threats out there. And IG1 is specifically designed with, let's say, smaller companies in mind, or organizations with limited cybersecurity budgets, maybe not many dedicated IT security folks.
Right.
And typically, organizations handling data that isn't extremely sensitive. Think businesses that maybe rely on general IT support, or perhaps they outsource some of it. They don't have a big in-house security team.
Okay, so it needs to be achievable for them.
That's key. The controls in IG1 were chosen because they can generally be implemented with limited cybersecurity expertise.
Yeah.
You don't need an army of specialists or super complex, expensive tools.
Makes sense. Accessibility is important.
Very. It means almost any organization can significantly improve their security posture by focusing here first. And the main goal, guarding against those really common widespread attacks. We're talking general phishing emails, the ones sent out to millions.
The ones we all get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Non-targeted malware, maybe some ransomware that's just casting a wide net, basic password guessing attacks. And here's a really important point about IG1, its effectiveness. Studies often show that getting just these foundational controls right can block something like, over 80% of common cyber attacks.
Wow, 80% just from the basics.
It's huge. It really is the biggest bang for your security buck, especially when you're starting out.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. What are some of these IG1 things in practice? We're talking basics like passwords.
We are. We're talking about things that might sound like common sense, but are critical to get right. Like knowing what devices are actually on your network, maintaining an inventory of hardware,
Knowing what's supposed to be there.
and what isn't. Same for software, what's running on your systems. Managing those assets. Then yes, strong, unique passwords everywhere. That's fundamental. And implementing multi-factor authentication, MFA, that's a huge one.
Oh yeah, MFA is everywhere now.
For good reason. It stops so many attacks even if a password gets compromised. It also includes things like making sure hardware and software are configured securely, not just using default settings, which are often weak. And even basic physical stuff, locks on server room doors, securing laptops. Getting those fundamentals right is what IG1 is all about.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Solid foundation. So what's the next step up? IG2.
Right, so building on that solid IG1 foundation, we move to IG2. And remember, it builds on it, doesn't replace it.
Right. You need IG1 first.
Absolutely. So IG2 assumes you've got IG1 implemented rigorously, and now you're adding another strategic layer of protection on top. Generally, IG2 is aimed at maybe medium-sized companies, ones that are a bit more established, have maybe a moderate level of cybersecurity maturity.
At resources, but maybe not unlimited resources.
Exactly. More resources than a typical IG1 company, but they're not, huge global enterprises yet. They have a bigger digital footprint, maybe more complex operations.
And probably facing more risk because of that.
Generally, yes. They're often handling more data, maybe more sensitive customer info, financial details, business plans, intellectual property.
So they become a more attractive target.
They do. Maybe not for nation-state attackers necessarily, but certainly for more organized cyber criminals. Their visibility is higher.
Okay, so IG2 needs to be more robust then.
It does. It includes additional security controls that are definitely considered more advanced than just the IG1 basics. These are things that might require a bit more expertise, a bit more investment to get right. Things like having solid data recovery capabilities in case something bad happens.
Backups and recovery plans.
Yep. And maybe more formal security awareness training programs for employees. A more rigorous approach to managing who has access to what data.
Moving beyond just reacting towards more proactive defense.
That's a good way to put it. Defending against a wider range of potential attacks.
Okay, so IG1 is foundational hygiene. IG2 steps it up for medium maturity. That leaves IG3, the top level.
That's right. IG3 is the highest level in the CIS framework. And it's comprehensive. It includes all the controls from IG1 and IG2.
Everything we've talked about so far.
Everything. Plus a significant set of additional highly advanced, often proactive measures. This is for organizations where security is absolutely paramount.
The ones who really can't afford any kind of breach.
Exactly. These are typically organizations with the highest level of security requirements. They usually have a very high security maturity and significant resources, both money and expert personnel.
And often a legal or regulatory reason pushing them towards top-tier security.
Very often, yes. They might be handling incredibly sensitive data, and the consequences of a security failure would be, catastrophic, affecting lots of people, maybe critical systems.
So if we're connecting this to the real world, we're talking about things like critical national infrastructure.
Precisely.
Like the power grid, major airports, National security agencies.
Those are prime examples, yes.
Yeah.
Or major financial institutions.
Hmm.
Sectors handling data where a breach doesn't just impact the company, it could impact society, national security, public safety.
Wow. Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high.
Incredibly high. So these organizations need to optimize everything. Advanced services, constant monitoring, things like continuous vulnerability management, regular penetration testing, sophisticated defenses against advanced malware.
They're not just protecting data, they're protecting, like you said, potentially society itself.
In many cases, yes.
Okay, so IG1, IG2, IG3. Foundational, enhanced, and then top tier comprehensive. What does knowing all this actually mean for someone listening? How does understanding these groups help you figure out cybersecurity needs, whether it's your own company or just making sense of the news?
Well, it gives you a framework, right? It allows organizations and people within organizations to look at their own situation and ask, where are we now and where do we realistically need to be? And crucially, it helps avoid mismatches. Not every company needs IG3. Honestly, trying to implement IG3 controls without the resources or maturity,
Could be counterproductive.
it really could. You waste resources, people get frustrated, and you might even create a false sense of security because you can't actually manage those advanced controls properly.
And the flip side.
The flip side is just as bad. An organization that should be at IG3, maybe because of the data they handle, but they're only really doing IG1 stuff,
Yeah.
that's leaving themselves dangerously exposed.
Right. It's about finding the right fit.
Exactly. The right level for your specific risk and your actual capabilities. Maybe we can run through a quick scenario, like an example.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, imagine like a mid-size e-commerce company.
Mm.
They've been around a few years. Maybe they hit a growth spurt. They have an established cybersecurity program, so they've done some basics.
Okay, so probably got IG1 covered, mostly.
Likely, yeah.
No.
Established suggests that. But now, because they're growing, they're handling more customer data, payment info, purchase histories, sensitive stuff,
Yeah.
and they want to strengthen their defenses.
Makes sense. More to protect, more risk.
Right. And let's say they have moderate resources and expertise, not unlimited, but not bare bones either. So based on that, which IG should they be looking towards next?
Okay, established means IG1 is likely there. They want to strengthen, so not just staying at IG1. Moderate resources. Probably rules out the massive investment needed for full IG3 right away.
That's generally the thinking, yeah. They don't sound like critical infrastructure. They have moderate, not significant or highest level resources needed for all the bells and whistles of IG3.
So IG2 seems like the logical next step.
Exactly. IG2 fits perfectly. It builds on their existing IG1, gives them that stronger protection they need for their growing data and risk profile, and it aligns with their moderate resources and expertise.
It's the pragmatic step up.
It's pragmatic, effective, and achievable for them.
That's a great illustration. It really shows how these aren't just abstract concepts. They apply directly to real business decisions. And understanding this, whether you're in management or IT or even just an employee, helps you see why certain security measures are in place or maybe why they should be. It's universal.
It really is. It gives you that framework for thinking strategically about security.
Okay, so let's quickly recap them. CIS Implementation Groups, IG1, IG2, IG3, are basically a smart, practical way for organizations to tailor their cybersecurity. They align defenses with the specific risks they face, the resources they actually have, and how mature their current security setup is. It's about getting the right size security.
Well put. Not too much, not too little, just right for your situation. But, this raises a really important point to think about.
Oh, what's that?
Well, cyber threats aren't static, right? They're always evolving.
Yeah.
And businesses change too. They grow, they handle new kinds of data, maybe their resources fluctuate. So how do organizations make sure that the implementation group they've chosen stays appropriate over time? It can't be a one-time decision, can it?
That's a really interesting question. So the IG level isn't set in stone.
It shouldn't be. It needs, or should need, continuous assessment, reevaluation. Are we still an IG1 company? Have our risks grown to the point where we need to seriously look at implementing IG2 controls? Or maybe we've acquired a company handling super sensitive data, pushing us towards IG3 considerations.
That's a really powerful thought to leave people with. It's not just about picking a level, but constantly checking if it's still the right level. So we encourage you listening to maybe think about that. Consider your own organization or even just your personal cybersecurity hygiene. What level is it at? And more importantly, is that level still appropriate given the evolving threats and maybe changes in what you're trying to protect?
And if you do want to dive deeper, especially if this stuff is relevant for your job, or maybe certifications like the CPA exam, Remember resources like Farhat lectures. They offer great ways to explore these concepts further because ultimately in cybersecurity, continuous learning and adaptation, that's absolutely key. You've got to stay informed to stay